Chapter 3 Software, File Management and Maintenance. You've got the hardware. You've installed the operating system. Now, the real question is, how do you keep that system running well over time? Because a computer left to itself, with software installed carelessly, files dumped anywhere, and maintenance routines ignored, will slow down, become unreliable, and eventually cost you something important. This chapter is about digital housekeeping. John's class opens their downloads folders, and the results are revealing. One student has a file called Final Actual Final v22 used on .docs. If that sounds familiar, this chapter is going to be very useful for you. Key concepts. The 3 types of software, how to install and uninstall correctly, file and folder management, task manager, startup programs, and disk cleanup. Let's get into it.
Week 3 started with you asking everyone to open their downloads folder. 3 people had over 400 files in there. Darius had a file called Final Actual Final v2 use this one .docx,
which is unfortunately extremely common. Most people treat their downloads folder as permanent storage and their entire file system as a junk drawer. It creates real problems: lost files, slower systems, unnecessary stress.
You called it digital housekeeping, which sounds boring but actually made complete sense.
Because your physical space analogy holds perfectly. If your room is a mess, you can't find anything. Same with the computer. So let's start with software types, because understanding what lives on your computer is the foundation of managing it properly.
There are 3 categories: operating system software, application software, and utility software.
Right. The operating system is the manager. It runs everything else, manages the hardware, and provides the platform applications sit on top of. Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Android, these are all operating systems.
Application software is the stuff you actually use day to day: word processors, browsers, games, media players.
And utility software is the maintenance crew working in the background: antivirus programs, disk cleanup tools, backup software, compression tools, things that keep the system healthy rather than doing productive tasks directly.
Installing software correctly, that was a bigger deal than I expected.
People rush through installation screens without reading them, and that's how you end up with 3 extra toolbars in your browser and an app you never wanted launching on startup.
Always download from official sources, watch for bundled software, untick those boxes, and pay attention to where things are installing.
Exactly. And uninstalling properly is just as important as installing correctly. What do most people do when they want to remove a program?
Delete the folder, which apparently is completely wrong.
It leaves behind registry entries, configuration files, startup entries, scattered all over the system. You've removed the main bag, but left the guest's belongings in 6 different rooms.
The right way is through Settings, then Apps, so Windows can properly uninstall everything, or a tool like Ravo Uninstaller for stubborn software that leaves things behind.
Ravo hunts down leftover files and registry entries automatically. For anything you want completely removed, it's worth using. Now, file management. What did Darius's downloads folder teach us?
That Final Actual Final is not a file naming system.
It is not. A good folder structure is like a well-organized filing cabinet. Create folders by subject or project. Use clear, descriptive names. Include dates in YYYY-MM-DD format when relevant. That format sorts chronologically. Use version numbers instead of the word final.
If you have to search for something, your structure has already failed.
Good rule. If you can't find any file in under 10 seconds, reorganize. Now, system maintenance. 3 tools built into Windows that most people never use.
Disk cleanup, task manager, startup programs.
Disk cleanup removes temporary files, browser cache, system junk that accumulates over time. On Darius's machine, it freed up 4.3 gigabytes. He was genuinely stunned.
Task Manager, Control-Shift-Escape, shows everything running on your computer right now, which processes are eating your RAM, which background apps are hogging CPU without you knowing.
It's your computer's dashboard. If something feels slow, Task Manager is your first stop. Sort by CPU usage or memory, and you'll immediately see what's causing the problem.
Startup programs was the most impactful one. Half those apps launching on boot were things people had forgotten they'd ever installed.
And every one of them adds to your boot time and runs silently in the background, consuming resources. Disabling the unnecessary ones on your machine cut your boot time from 47 seconds to 19.
I went home and did it to my own PC. My mom asked why it was suddenly faster. I told her I'd serviced it. She was impressed.
Which you had. These aren't advanced IT skills. They're basic digital hygiene that everyone should know. A well-maintained computer runs better, lasts longer, and causes far less frustration.
I felt like a mechanic, which was a surprisingly good feeling for a Wednesday evening.
That feeling of understanding the system well enough to fix it, that's what we're building toward, 1 week at a time. Over to you, Kev. Thanks.
3 types of software: operating system, application, utility. 3 maintenance tools you should use regularly: Disk Cleanup Task Manager Startup Program, and 1 filing principle worth remembering. If you can't find any file in under 10 seconds, your folder structure needs work. These aren't glamorous skills, but they're the skills that separate someone who can use a computer from someone who can actually manage one. John went home and serviced his own PC after this lesson. His mum thought he'd performed a miracle. He knew it was just method. In Chapter 4, we go somewhere more unusual. What if you could have a second computer, a completely separate machine with its own operating system, its own files, its own settings, running inside a window on your existing computer? What if you could break it and then restore it perfectly with 1 click? That's a virtual machine, and it's one of the most useful concepts in all of it. Chapter 4. Virtual machines. Next.